What would you do if the only people who knew you'd seen something were the people who did it? I used to love driving at night. There was something peaceful about it. The empty roads, the black sky stretched endlessly over the desert, the soft hum of tires against asphalt. It made me feel invisible in a good way, like the world had gone quiet just for me. That trip changed that feeling forever. I was crossing through the Nevada desert alone, heading toward a temporary construction job that was supposed to last a few months. The drive itself was brutal. Long, empty highways cutting through dry wasteland. Mountains sitting like dark teeth against the horizon. Hours without passing a gas station. Hours without seeing another car. At first, it felt freeing. Then it started feeling wrong. By the time everything happened, it was sometime after 2 in the morning. I remember checking the dashboard clock because I was debating whether to pull over and sleep for a couple hours. I'd been driving almost non-stop. The radio had dissolved into static nearly an hour earlier. My phone had no signal. The road ahead looked endless. Just a narrow strip of pavement disappearing into darkness. No streetlights, no houses, no signs of life, just desert. I remember rubbing my eyes and trying to stay alert when I noticed lights off in the distance. At first, I thought it was another car parked near the road. That alone caught my attention because I hadn't seen anyone for hours. The headlights were sitting maybe 50 yards off the highway on a dirt clearing. They faced toward the road at an angle, bright enough to stand out against the dark landscape. As I got closer, something felt strange about them. The lights weren't moving. No hazard lights, no brake lights, just headlights. Then suddenly, they shut off, instantly, like whoever was there had seen me coming. A weird chill ran through me. I remember easing off the gas slightly. My first thought was, maybe someone didn't want to be seen out there. Maybe drugs. Maybe people partying. Maybe someone taking a leak in the middle of nowhere. I told myself not to stare, just keep driving. But as I passed the clearing, my headlights swept across it for half a second, and I saw everything. 3 vehicles. One black SUV with the driver's door hanging open, another car angled sideways, and bodies, at least 2, maybe 3. I couldn't fully process what I was seeing because it happened so fast, but I remember flashes burned into my memory. A man face down in the dirt, another slumped against a tire, something dark sprayed across the side of one vehicle, movement near the SUV, someone turning toward the road. Then I was past it. My heart nearly stopped. I slammed my foot onto the gas instinctively. The engine roared louder than it had all night. I kept staring ahead, gripping the wheel so tightly my fingers hurt. I didn't breathe for several seconds. I knew what I'd seen. I didn't want to know, but I knew. A hit, an execution, and they saw me drive by. I remember looking in the rearview mirror. Nothing at first, just darkness. Then headlights exploded on behind me. 2 sets, bright, fast, coming onto the highway hard, every muscle in my body locked up. I whispered out loud, "No, no, 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 no." The vehicles accelerated immediately. I pushed my speed higher, 90, 95. The road twisted through empty desert hills while the headlights stayed behind me like predators. They weren't trying to pass. They weren't backing off. They were matching me. I reached for my phone, even though I already knew there was no service. Nothing. I kept checking anyway. Nothing. The headlights got closer. One vehicle pulled into the opposite lane briefly, almost alongside me, then dropped back again. I couldn't see inside because their windows were blacked out. My mouth had gone completely dry. I started imagining every possible outcome. Maybe they only wanted to scare me. Maybe they wanted to make sure I hadn't stopped. Maybe they were deciding whether to kill me. That last thought stayed lodged in my head like a knife. The road ahead stretched empty forever. No towns, no exits, no other cars. I was completely alone with them. After maybe 15 minutes, the SUV behind me flashed its high beams repeatedly. Not random flashes, intentional, like signals. I ignored them. Then they got right up on my bumper. So close I couldn't see their headlights anymore. Just light flooding my mirrors. I genuinely thought they were going to ram me off the road. Instead, the other vehicle pulled beside me again. This time, I saw someone inside, just a silhouette. Then the passenger window rolled down. An arm came out, pointing at me. Not a gun, just pointing. Then the hand made a slow motion downward, like they wanted me to slow down. I did the opposite. I floored it again. The speedometer climbed past 100. My car started shaking slightly. The desert around me became a blur of black rock and sand. Still, they stayed with me. That was the worst part, not knowing what they wanted. If they intended to kill me, they had plenty of chances. The road was isolated enough that nobody would ever find me quickly, but they didn't attack. They stayed close enough to terrify me, close enough to let me know they were there. It felt deliberate, psychological. At one point, the SUV surged forward beside me. I accidentally looked over. I wish I hadn't. The driver was staring directly at me. Not angry, not yelling, just staring. Cold, expressionless, like he was memorizing my face. Then he smiled. Not a normal smile either. It looked empty, dead. He tapped 2 fingers against his temple like a salute, then fell back behind me again. That smile haunted me for months afterward. Eventually, I saw lights ahead in the distance. A gas station, tiny, barely more than a building sitting alone near the highway. I nearly cried when I saw it. I figured if I could get around people, cameras, witnesses, maybe they'd leave. As I approached the station, the vehicles behind me slowed slightly. I pulled in fast, tires crunching over gravel. There were only 2 other cars there, an old pickup, a rusted sedan. The station itself looked half abandoned. I jumped out of my car and looked back toward the highway. The SUV rolled slowly past the station entrance. The passenger inside turned his head toward me. Then they kept driving. The second vehicle followed, gone into the darkness. I stood there shaking so hard I could barely breathe. The clerk inside asked if I was all right. I lied immediately, said I was just tired. I wanted to call the police. I really did. But the second I imagined explaining what I'd seen, I froze. What if they found out? What if they already had connections everywhere nearby? What if the people chasing me knew who I was now? The truth was simple. I was terrified. So I stayed at the gas station until sunrise and convinced myself they'd moved on. I even started believing maybe it was over. I was wrong. The first thing that happened was small. 3 days later, after arriving at the job site and checking into a cheap motel, I noticed the same black SUV parked across the street. I told myself it couldn't be the same one. Black SUVs are common, but something about it felt familiar. The tinted windows, the shape, the way it sat there idling. I watched from behind the motel curtains for almost 20 minutes before it finally drove away. I barely slept that night. After that, little things started happening. A car lingering too long behind me, strangers watching me in stores, missed calls from blocked numbers. One night, I returned to my motel room and found the television already on. Static. I knew I'd turned it off before leaving. Maybe it sounds stupid now, but that scared me more than the highway chase. Because suddenly it felt personal, like someone had been inside. I checked the room obsessively afterward. Under the bed, closet, bathroom, nothing, but the feeling stayed. Watching, waiting. A week later, I finally convinced myself I was becoming paranoid. Trauma does that to people. Your brain starts connecting unrelated things. You see patterns where none exist. I tried moving on. I focused on work, kept my head down, avoided thinking about that night. Then came the package. No return address, just a plain box left outside my motel room door. Inside was a disposable camera, nothing else. My stomach dropped instantly. I almost threw it away without looking, but curiosity got the better of me. There were only 6 photos inside after I had the film developed. The first picture was my car at the gas station that night. The second was me standing outside my motel room. The third was me entering a grocery store. The fourth was taken through the motel window while I slept. The fifth was the dirt clearing. Bodies blurred in darkness. The sixth picture was completely black except for writing scratched across it. We saw you too. I packed my things within an hour, quit the job, left town before sunrise. I kept telling myself if I disappeared, maybe they'd lose interest. Maybe they only wanted silence. Maybe fear was enough. For a while, it actually seemed true. Months passed, then years. No more photos, no more SUVs. Life slowly regained some normalcy, at least on the surface. But internally, I was ruined. I stopped driving at night completely. Couldn't do it. Every pair of headlights behind me made my chest tighten. Every dark highway reminded me of that smile. I became obsessive about checking locks, curtains, mirrors, parking lots. Sometimes I'd wake up convinced someone was standing outside my window. I started sleeping with lights on. Friends noticed changes. I became distant, quiet. I stopped talking about my life altogether because I was terrified I'd accidentally mention something that would help someone find me. The weirdest part was how uncertainty poisoned everything. If they had threatened me outright, maybe I could have processed it better. But they never contacted me directly, never demanded anything, never explained themselves. They simply let me know they could reach me whenever they wanted. That was enough. About 4 years after the highway incident, I finally started feeling somewhat normal again. I had a stable apartment, a decent job, routine. I almost believed the nightmare was behind me. Then one evening, I came home from work and found my apartment door slightly open, just barely. I knew instantly something was wrong. I always locked it, always. My entire body went cold. I stood there staring at the gap in the door for what felt like forever before slowly pushing it open. Nothing looked disturbed inside. No broken furniture, no missing electronics, no signs of forced entry. Then I saw it sitting on the kitchen table, a pair of headlights, not real ones, a toy version, small enough to fit in both hands. They were switched on. Bright white beams pointed directly toward the front door, toward me. I didn't touch them. I walked straight back out of the apartment and drove until morning. After that, I moved again. Different state, different job, different life. But there are things you can't relocate away from. Fear settles into your bones after long enough. Even now, years later, I still think about that desert road. Sometimes I wonder if they ever truly intended to kill me. Maybe they simply wanted me to carry the memory forever. Maybe terror was more useful than murder. A dead witness can become a police investigation. A living witness who's terrified to speak becomes nothing. That's what I became. Nothing. Silent. Controlled. The worst part is, I still don't know if it's over. Every once in a while, I notice things. A familiar SUV parked too long near my workplace. A stranger glancing at me for an extra second. Blocked calls with nobody speaking. Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe paranoia finally consumed me years ago. Or maybe some people never stop watching once they decide you've seen too much. Sometimes late at night, when I can't sleep, I drive aimlessly through empty roads outside town just to clear my head. I never go far anymore, and I never stop moving. But every now and then, I'll look into my rearview mirror and see headlights sitting far behind me in the dark, keeping pace, never getting closer, never falling back, just watching, waiting. Like they know eventually I'll make a mistake. And every single time that happens, I remember the smile of the man in the SUV, the way he looked at me like my life already belonged to him. And I start wondering if that night in the desert was never really over at all. If you enjoyed tonight's story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. And if you have a creepy story of your own that you'd like featured on talesthyme, send it to talesthyme@gmail.com. Your story could be next.